Welcome back, everybody. Automotive Inc. Today we are going to touch on which truck in 2024 became the king of the hill. In my respects, if you're new to the channel, you probably don't know this, but we had a 2024 Ram 1-ton crew. We also had a 24 Chevy L8T 2500 with the Allison. That was a 24. And then we had this guy right here, the 24 Ford Super Duty F250 7.3 Godzilla. Now, before we get too much further down the line, if you guys would look down there in the corner or down below, smash that subscribe button for me. It does help a small channel out. It doesn't cost anything, but it does help me out. At the end, make sure you smash the notification bell because we have a lot of really cool stuff coming up here in just a short week. And if you want to go over to the channel, you can check out tons of video. Head up to the search bar and just type in Chevy GMC, whatever you want to. Hundreds and hundreds of great videos. At least I think they're great, and I have a lot of people that think they're pretty darn good also. So before we get too far into this, 24s. We are heading into the 25 model year, guys, and all new 25s are coming out. Now, let's say that with an asterisk, okay? Like I told you guys way back when, all the scuttlebutt about, these big changes coming from Ram and Ford and Chevy. You can check out my review of the 25 Chevy Silverado. It stayed the same. Just some little tweaks in the packages, but all in all, stayed the same. No changes. 25 Ford Super Duty, zero changes. You can walk around at 25, they're dropping on lots. No differences. The only one that's left is the Ram 2500, which I will have some great sneak peek coming up on that in a few weeks for you to take a look at. But all in all, that Ram didn't change either. If anything, Ram is struggling to even get rid of the 24s, and we're going to address several things in these videos for you guys to take into consideration. This might be a time to snag a 24 at a good deal, depending on where you're sitting at, because again, the biggest change coming for Ram is they're allegedly dropping one of the Cummins diesels and a ZF8 coming to drop off the 68 RFE. Now, to put it in context, I've had plenty of 68 RFEs. I never had any problems with them, but if that was a bugaboo for you that you didn't like, the ZF 9, 8, whatever the hell it's going to be, is coming, allegedly. We'll see that shortly. And then the Cummins already had plenty of power, so didn't really care if they dropped one or the other. I liked them both, so not a big deal there. But all in all, Ram changed nothing else other than the front fascia of that truck, and I don't find it as attractive as the old models. And my favorite model years is way back in 1994, followed by my 2016 Ram era where they had that front fascia look. So at the end of the day, we're going to talk 24s because I think it behooves you to take a gander at those, especially if you are a Ram fan, because Ram is taking considerable chunks off their trucks just to move them down the line. Now, I will link the Ram video, at least one or two of my Chevy videos, and obviously the Ford video, and then you can go to the channel and type in, because I've taken all of these trucks down the road, did some towing with them, and we're just going to talk about, all in all, which truck really comes through and which one wins. So you guys, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So this is the sport fascia on the 24 Super Duty. This hood's reminiscent of my 2008 Super Duty, and some people hate this body style. They hate the look. They don't like the vents. They don't like anything. But all in all, really what Ford did is change the taillights, change that little scoop out there, same wheels we had before basically on the Tremor, changed the grille and the hood. The biggest update was the interior, of course, in 2023, but at the end of the day, 23 is a carryover 24, and same for 25. And if you guys are wondering, Ford is dropping several cool features that are on this truck for 2025. They're now going to be dealer added option at a cost, and that is kind of a bummer. So because you have to figure out for you which truck looks the best, you want to come out and see that you like that. When it comes to looks, of the three trucks that we had on the channel, I'm going to give the looks for me to the 24 Chevy Silverado Kong. I just had a nice swagger. It was a custom trim, so not a work truck, a little bit more upscale than that, but not all that sophisticated, but just had a nice swagger, had a Z71 package. And if you check out that video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Just had some swagger. Second place will go to this, the Ford Super Duty, because I think it's a decent looking truck, and I do like this color after all this time. This is the Glacier Gray. My last is going to be the Ram, because I think the last version of the Ram was not as aggressive and nice looking as the 2016 model, and I definitely don't like the look of the 25, but if you're not looking at it from the front, it's the same truck from the side and the back, so not a big deal there. Next thing I want to talk about, guys, is interior bed storage. So Ram is going to fall in last here with a 6'4" short bed, And obviously they all have their own 8-foot versions of this. And the 6-foot Ford bed is way shorter than a Ram. So if you're going to have a hitch in there and you're going to put stuff up front or have a tonneau that folds into that area, keep that in mind because the bed area is only 6'4". Second place goes to Ford at 6'9", and then Chevy comes in at 6'10". Now Chevy does give you an 8-foot, technically 2-inch long bed, so they're also the king in the long beds when it comes to that. Now interior storage though, capacity, the Chevy's going to win there because they basically took these inner walls of the bed and bumped them all the way out to the side, so you do get a better storage area, more cargo area by cubic foot, so they will win there. Now we come into bed tie downs. A good thing that Ford did for 2024 is that is your box link. You'll show it on the window sticker. They took away those cleats that you have to bolt up in there with a, not bolt in, you put them up in there and lock them with a key. They were great, but if you didn't have those or didn't want to buy those, the bracket was really hard to use with a tie down strap. These ones are completely useful. Even without buying any of the cleats, they make like 6 or 7 different cleats for different applications, and that works really well in there. And when it comes to tie downs, Ram's going to lose here because they don't have as many tie downs as Ford and or Chevy, but Chevy gives you 3 up each pillar, 3 in the corner box up there, 3 and 3, and they're all rated with pretty good capacity. You torque down on these little bottle cap opener ones, they feel a little flimsy, and you can feel them kind of torquing, twisting as you tighten them down. But again, Chevy's going to win in the storage capacity place. As we come further out, guys, we're going to talk about tailgates. All these trucks are super high. Ram really doesn't offer anything in the heavy duty segment when it comes to these tailgates to help you out. They offer a little flip down step on the end. That's going to be a sore loser for me because really, if you don't want to get the bed step, you do have these bumper steps and then the bed box steps, which if you're a fifth wheeler or anybody that gets in the back of your bed, those help a ton. Call them ugly if you will. The Chevy makes them look the best, but I've heard people hate them on both trucks. But having a tailgate step option is nice. I will say that the Multiflex from GM on the Chevy, Kong had one, had so many different ways to make it usable and makes it a really nice step. The only issue I had with that one is the bar that was up in there really was so far up and big and kind of just godly to swing out that I didn't really need to use it because the step was so good. So Chevy's going to win when it comes to their design of their tailgate. Now where Ford does win is they did redesign their hitch right here, getting rid of those old hard to use chain tie down areas. They redesigned this. I think they did really well with it. They give you a very beefy hitch. So I'm going to give Chevy and Ford a tie here. I think they did really well with that, and kudos for them. When it comes to the Ram's hitch is really good, but at the end of the day, I'm going to give these GM and Ford the top on that. Now as we work around here, guys, we're going to talk about what's under the hood. All of these manufacturers have plenty of capable engines. This one being the 7.3 Godzilla is the most powerful gas engine and the largest displacement you currently can get over the 6.4 Hemi and even over the 6.6 L8T. Now, when it comes to diesels, all of those are going to be workhorses for sure, keeping in mind that all of those have additional cost. All of those are going to have additional maintenance and potential different issues with the emissions control system. This is where Ford's going to win when it comes to the 7.3. Now, the 6.6 L8T did just fine and pulled up the mountains, no problems with it whatsoever. But I will say that having the extra juice, torque, and horsepower made a little bit of a difference going up some of those passes when we took it over the mountains with these bigger loads. And this truck really worked really well, just ripped right up the mountain, and I was really happy with that. Now, when it comes into the transmission, the 10-speed torque shift and the Allison transmission, branded or not, it is a GM now owned transmission that they basically worked with Allison to build, and it carries the Allison name because GM owned Allison for most of its life. When it's coming to transmission, this transmission has had a couple little herky jerks in it from time to time, and it's the weirdest time. It's not towing, it's literally just pull up to a stop sign and you start to go and it's almost like you can't figure it out. The L8T with the Allison, that transmission did excellent engine braking with it, did excellent towing, super smooth shifts. So I will give the transmission on these trucks to the Chevy. When it comes to Ram, the 6.4 Hemi and their setup with that transmission, it might be a great transmission, but I had 2 of those Hemis blow up on me in a 3/4 ton towing light loads. And so I'm not an overly big fan of the 6.4 Hemi. If I was going to go Ram, I'm going Cummins. And now, guys, it's time to step in to the interior. Before we go, though, this is an option that is going to leave for 2025 from Ford. I would ding them for that. I love this little keypad, but for the most people, they've never used it. You're not going to miss it, anything like that. So as we come inside to the Ford Super Duty, Super Duty is going to win over the Chevy and over the Ram when it comes to interior storage space, cubby holes, cup holders, charge points, and everything like that. This thing has a place for literally everything. There's one up on the dash. There's big holes here. Now, both Ram and Chevy have these, depending on where you get and what trim level. But this one's really going to win when it comes to everything. You got 4 cup holders up here if you want. You got a little transformer cup holder. You know, most of them are going to have those cup holders right there. But even when it comes to your passengers, if we come back around here, they get the same amount of storage when it comes to this. And I just think that that's really, really good. And like I said, when it comes to charge points, look at all those charge points. 2 USB-Cs, a 12 volt, and a 110 outlet. Can't beat it. Ford also gives you this option right here, a lockable under seat storage. And I don't even have enough crap to really fill this thing, but this will collapse, making your floor flat in here. So king of storage when it comes to that. If you get a lower trim, you may not have this box, but typically they're gonna have a steel box right here. And if not, you're gonna have all the landscape underneath of it. And this does go all the way across and lockable from both sides. So that's just an option where no other manufacturer is really offering. If we shut that, that's where I wanna talk about where Ram sits and Chevy sits. As you guys know, Chevy and Ford both gave us a huge crew cab a few years ago. And this was a huge upgrade. Ford has a full flat floor here, so no cowl right there bumping there. So middle passengers can be equally as comfortable. And Ram has the smallest crew cab. They just do. So they're going to come in last place. Now, they do have the mega cab, and I'll forewarn you guys because I had a mega cab, but it was a 1-ton dually. If you're going to get the mega cab in the 3/4 ton version, you're going to lose a lot of payload and you're going to lose some towing abilities. Even if you go 1 ton, it's going to be less over that, but you will get then the biggest cab in the market, and it's called the mega cab. If you haven't, go sit in. It's like sitting in a Maybach. Lots of storage behind the seat, a little bit underneath, but super comfortable seat there, but a full seat that these guys are all offering in their crew cab. So when I'm talking about that, if you go into a Ram, this is going to cut in right here and be a little bit shorter seat because they have cup holders down there on the floor. Not sure why they do that because they typically have cup holders there if it's a 40-20-40 bucket seat. But the middle seat's only really relegated to a smaller human. Ford, Chevy, give us this. Chevy does have a little bump here. So like I said, it is what it is. But with that little cut in from the console, I can sit there at 6'2". I have my seat where I sit at 6'2". I got 9 inches of clearance here in a Ram. I usually only have about 3 or 4. Another thing I will say when it comes to the Ram and that smaller one, Ram and Ford, at least this seat's comfortable. In the Chevy that I had in the custom, this middle seat right here didn't have this flip down armrest. So a human could sit there, no problems, it's plenty comfortable. Again, in the Ram, he had to be a little bit shorter because you didn't have any thigh support right here. But in the Chevy, this sticks out. So I'm gonna basically kind of give that a bonk on the Chevy for doing that, because no matter which one I go to, that doesn't sit flush in there and that sticks up, and me as a full grown man, it hurts my back to sit there. So that would be relegated to a small human. But again, the Chevy Custom, those lower trim levels that don't have that, this back seat is plenty comfortable and just as big as the Ford. But when it comes to that, I will say that Ford wins the back seat race for the crew cabs. Now, one thing that I can't do is the Ram was a Laramie trim, so very nicely equipped. The Chevy was a custom, so like I said, lower trim, not even a power seat, but it did have some safety tech and everything like that. And this is the Lariat Ultimate. So I'm not going to necessarily compare the three because that'd be a hard little equation to do. So we're just going to talk about some basic things in here. Ergonomics. Everything in the Ford, in the Chevy, in the Ram, easily reachable. One thing about the Ram is they haven't changed. It's the same interior basically since 2011. So I mean, really, other than jazzing up a lot of things, it's basically the same truck that has plenty of interior storage, but doesn't beat the Ford. But at the end of the day, The Ram interiors are really nice. I don't think they're as nice as they were in 17 when they changed the body style, and I know they're definitely not as nice now as they were in 16. They might have more pizzazz, but they don't have as nice quality. I just feel Fit and Finish has found a way to get cheaper at Ram with their woes, and that's one thing with changing hands so many times it does to do it. So when it comes to Fit and Finish, the Chevy had less equipment in it, so there was less to go wrong, less rattles, less everything. Plus, that was a carryover interior from a long time ago, just like Ram. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say that really the Ford and the Chevy and the Ram all are about the same when it comes to when you get in, how you feel. It feels good. There's going to be different feelings when you get into it. The Chevys have the most firm seats, followed by, the Rams has a little bit less firm, and then the Ford, their seats are soft. So really at the end of the day, you have to decide whichever seat feels the most comfortable to you. But when you do get in this area and you have plenty of headroom, the Chevy and the Ford have lots of headroom. The Ram has lots of headroom in the drivers, but as it goes back, the Chevy tapers off. If you go stand outside and look at the side profile, it tapers off. And the Ram also slopes down in the back too. And having this less headroom and the bumped outs for the speakers, if you get them in the ceiling or the sunroof, it makes it feel like it's a little claustrophobic in the Ram. The Chevy does really well. I can sit back there just fine, but it's just something to note. So again, as you guys look at different trim levels, Ram did finally change up their mirrors, which was a huge improvement up over the flip over ones. The flip over ones weren't bad, but the new ones are way better. When it comes to mirrors though, Chevy has the most real estate when it comes to mirrors, and that's a big thing to me as a truck driver. So at the end of the day, I think Chevy wins in the mirror race, giving you the best visibility. Not the most attractive way to mount them, but that is what it is. Now, as we come through here, guys, most of the trucks are going to have an upper glove box these days. Some of them have a cover, some of them don't. This one right here, I could put a roll of toilet paper in. The Rams I couldn't, and the Chevys was a little bit smaller also. Now, if you get the Chevy with the newer interior, you're going to, as you come this way, everybody has a massive freaking screen now. And depending on which one you go with, most of the truck manufacturers still give you all your extra buttons down here, so you don't have to run everything through the system here. But when it does come to that stuff, which interface is the best and the easiest to use? Well, if you want to see those videos, go over to those in the search bar, type in Chevy Ram. I got all the breakdown, how all the systems work and everything like that. But I will tell you this one, Ford's going to win with the Sync 4 and the 12-inch screen. It does freeze up. It does glitch. The Ram Uconnect also does that. The Ram is a vertical screen versus a horizontal one. And a lot of real estate in that when the cameras is pulled up is not as good. It's also a little bit harder to use. GM's newest 12-inch also has a Google interface, so for me that's a little bit more of a learning curve. It's also a horizontal one, but it's more compact and shorter. Ford gives you this big 12-inch screen. It puts all the data up on this screen, and like I said, I have videos on all that over there. But when it comes to usability, the Sync 4 is going to be the easiest one for anybody or a guy like me that can jump in and figure it out. Now, the Chevy had the smaller screen, had the small 8-inch screen, and carrying over to 25, they are still offering the custom trim in the 2500, and you will still get that same interior that's been around since like 2018-ish. And, at the end of the day, that's a small 8-inch screen. Not a lot to it. I never had any problems with it. This screen locks up probably every month or so. It locks up. It shuts, goes black. The Uconnect would just freeze up, or you'd see it kind of glitch. And that's just something to keep in mind. If you're going to get one of these up-trim trucks, this screen's probably not going to be inexpensive to fix. And a lot of the changes and settings for this vehicle are in that screen, so along with your music and your phone. So if it goes out, you're kind of hosed. The Chevy one, pretty simple. Their new one, it's a nice looking screen. I don't think it's the nicest of the three. I'm going to say Ford wins in the tech Sync 4 versus Uconnect versus the GM version of the stuff in the cheaper model and in the Google one. I think that this one's just easy to use, whether you're using voice recognition, pushing the buttons, need to see information, and everything like that. Now, we're also going to talk about cameras. There was the longest time that HD cameras in the Chevys were the best, as far as I'm concerned. The 25 I drove, I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like it actually was better than the Sync 4 cameras I have in this. I have the 360 cameras, and what I will tell you is between the three, Ford's going to win here too, because the 12-inch screen's coming in most of them, and depending, unless you're getting a super basic XL, you're more than likely going to get 360 cameras, and Ford gives you the whole screen. on the backup screen, you can blow it out. You want to see a side view while you get 12 inches of view. And it's just really nice because if you're having to look over for anything at that screen, the Chevy one shrinks it down. It's a pretty small little bird's eye. And a lot of their camera views are small and chopped up into pieces. Ram is the same way. They don't use that whole screen. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So when it comes to camera clarity and stuff like that, I'm going to say that Chevy and Ford have equal quality for 2025 24s. I would say that, it's splitting hairs. Ram's cameras are good, but again, the non-use of the full screen doesn't make a lot of sense for me. So Ford is going to win in this case. So as we get kind of over here to wrap up, guys, I'm going to just touch on overall quality. 0 issues with Kong on the interior. 0 issues. I sold it to a buddy. He now has about 50,000 miles on it. Works in construction. Works it every day. 0 problems. 1 USB port did burn out while I owned it because I hit a big bump and splashed Monster Energy in it and shorted it out. Fixed under warranty. When it comes to the 24 Ram started having a transfer case leak with under 1,000 miles on it. It was a Cummins diesel. No problems with the engine. Uconnect was kind of glitchy. The other issue with it was the transfer case. They basically, when I called the dealer, they said they couldn't get the parts. I'd need to not drive the truck. Otherwise, I would be potentially damaging it. They said it could be like 6 months. So I only used the truck for a couple thousand miles and I was kind of over it. I've had enough Rams. It was not that much of a big difference from my previous Ram. For me to be like, wow, this is a great truck. I want to keep it that long and already having problems. Can't drive it and already also making a payment. It just really wasn't good. So really Ram is going to come in 3rd place on quality. I think if you're going to have the same cab, they haven't changed that, same bed length, same everything, you should have that crap figured out, especially same engine, same transmission, same transfer case for all these years. You should have that figured out. I shouldn't have that issue. So it's going to go into the last place because at the end of the day, the dealer told me not to drive anymore. So to me, that's a big bonk on it. 2nd place is going to go to the Ford. I've had a lot of electrical issues with this truck. It's been in the shop multiple times. It's never left me on the road stranded. It's locked me out several times. A lot of features shut down because it has a parasitic draw on it. The dealer can't figure it out, but it hasn't had a leak. It hasn't had anything like that. No breakdowns. My 2nd oil change is coming up. My 1st oil change went well. We had that done by Blackstone. You guys can check that out on the channel if you want to see how those results are. So longevity, we're going to have to see because really Kong, the 24 Silverado, is the only truck that has that many miles on it because as soon as I sold it, it went right to work. I mean, he loved the truck. I didn't want to trade it anyway. So it was good to be able to kind of always get that residual data. And when it came to the Chevy's had 0 issues other than the original tires because he tows a lot. I towed a lot with it. The original tires did have to be replaced right around 40,000. So that's not a big surprise to me. OEM rubber is pretty cheap on these trucks. So, at the end of the day, I don't expect the original set of tires to really last that long. So really Chevy's going to win when it comes to initial quality. But if you look at everybody has awards for how much great they did on stuff, but those are some of the problems. If you go to the channel, all of those videos are on there about the Ram, the Chevy, and the Ford when it comes to problems. So really, if you go over and check those out, you'll be able to see some of the other little areas where I dinged on the Ram. I even dinged on the Chevy. I dinged on the Ford and everything like that to get the best one. Now, if you're just money conscious, now's the time to buy a truck. I would tell you to probably, if you're a Ram guy, lean towards a Ram just because of the great discounts they are. And I think that probably 9 out of 10 times you're going to get a decent truck out of that deal, especially because right now you can get a diesel Ram for cheaper than you can get a gas work truck version of Chevy or Ford. So the price point leader is going to probably be Ram right now. But if they weren't having all these woes, Ram has traditionally been a little bit more expensive than, say, even a Chevy. When it comes to trim levels and everything like that, they all got plenty of trim levels to do it, and all of those little Goldilocks situations where you can find the right one that fits for you. But at the end of the day, I buy these trucks for towing. So the last point we're going to talk about is towing and control. So the only thing I do to this one does have the payload package. So even though it's F250 and it's a Tremor, it gets the payload package. It's basically a little bit lighter duty F350 has the big rear end and everything like that. I do put Timberlands on it to help with sway. I do that on all my trucks. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say that versus the 22 to the 24, that was a little bit lighter duty 3/4 ton. Both of them had really good handling. Now with the 24 Ram Cummins, that engine's heavy. It should make that front end really sit down and feel controlled. But if you go and watch the Battle on the Plains videos I made on both the Chevy, the Ford, and the Ram, you will see that that truck was kind of light on the front end. So I'm not sure what Ram did because that was a 1-ton short bed. But I think sometimes the chassis length, it's the shortest of all of them. It's skinnier than the rest of them. That could play into effect. But this one being all aluminum, I'm going to say that this one did really well. But when it comes to the end of the towing, the Ram felt the lightest and the less sure-footed truck and less in control. So you're probably going to say, well, if you had all these problems with the Ford and the Ram, then Chevy's obviously going to win. I would say that my pick for 2024, if I was going to go buy one right now, I would say that this version that I have right here ties the Chevy in everything that it can do. So whether you go in gas or diesel, I think you look at Ford or Chevy first, Ram last, unless you're just a Ram person. But really, like I said, they're all good looking trucks in their own ways, and they all get the job done. They all can haul people, but really at the end of the day, the Ford has done so much to better their product over the past, and I think the Godzilla issue has hopefully figured itself out, and they've got that corrected. That I would say that price point wise, Chevy wins. Good creature comforts, good amenities, a good hauling truck, a good stable controlling truck, a great transmission. That LAT is a great gasser. The Duramax is a great diesel, but I used to love diesels, but I'm just not so much into them anymore. But yeah, I would say for 2024, Ford, GMC, Chevy, they get the tie. Ram's going to come in the last place, and my Ram guys, you'll be probably, giving me your 2 cents, and I get that. But keep in mind, I probably owned 25 Ram trucks since 1988, and I've only owned maybe 6 Fords and 6 Chevys. I can, really kind of come in and tell you what I think of all of this versus that. So at the end of the day, guys, that is my pick for the 2024 truck to get if you're going 24. And if you're going 25, no big changes. I would probably say right now, until we get our hands on one, that 26 will be the biggest changes for all the manufacturers. But yeah, go put your butt in one of these things, take it for a spin, see which one floats your boat, and we'll catch you on the next one.